Welcome back to episode 2 of Inside the Huddle. And the first game we watched was a Thursday night thriller, the Chiefs versus the Chargers. And that game went down to the wire as in the first half the Chiefs were losing 7-10, but later the Chiefs were able to come out on top.
Justin Herbert had 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He actually did really well this game. Patrick Mahomes only had 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the Chiefs still came out on top this game.
Yeah, how about Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he did great, completing 24 for 35 for 235 passing yards. Wow, that guy's a beast.
Yeah, and then we had the Patriots facing off against the Steelers, and Mac Jones, he looked solid, 250 yards, a touchdown, and a pick, but the Steelers did pretty good as well, but it was the Patriots coming out on top in the end.
I mean, the wide receiver Nelson Aguilar came alive for 6 catches, 110 yards, including a second quarter touchdown that gave the Patriots the lead they needed.
All right, the next game was the Giants versus Panthers, with the Giants coming out on top 19-16.
I mean, the Giants and the Panthers was a great game. Baker Mayfield had 150 yards and a touchdown. And Daniel Jones, he looked pretty good. He had a lot of completions. Saquon Barkley slowed down from the first week, but it was a good matchup with the Giants winning by 3 in the end.
You know, he was really a menace on the Panthers' offensive line before he got an injury on his 35th snap.
All right, the next game was the Jets versus Browns, with the Jets winning 31-30. Joe Flacco had 307 yards, and he did pretty well. He had 4 touchdowns. Overall, the Jets had a pretty good game. Yeah,
I mean, it came down to the wire again with the Jets scoring 17 in the final quarter. But the Browns, they did solid. Amari Cooper had a big day, 100 receiving yards and a touchdown, 9 receptions. So, I mean, if you're a Jets fan, you got to be excited. And the dilemma coming up is, are you going to start Joe Flacco, the reliable quarterback, or are you going to start Zach Wilson?
I mean, Evan, do you mean Joe Flacco?
All right, the next game was the Jaguars versus Colts, with the Jaguars just absolutely destroying the Colts 24-0. I mean, there wasn't really a lot to this game. It was just an absolute demolition of the Colts. Trevor Lawrence had 235 yards with 2 touchdowns, and Matt Ryan only had 195 yards, and he had 3 interceptions. Really, the Colts just got absolutely demolished this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we expected a lot more from Jonathan Taylor. He's just kind of been a disappointment so far this year. I think we expected MVP numbers from him. We're not getting them so far. Trevor Lawrence looked like he might be paying out for the Jaguars as he threw for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars, like they said, I mean, they just destroyed the Colts. I feel like without Michael Pittman on the Colts, because he obviously got injured, he was questionable until when they played on Sunday morning. But, you know, I had him on my fantasy team. It went bad. I forgot to take him out.
All right, the next game was the Dolphins versus the Ravens, which was a very interesting game. The Dolphins are back this season. They won 42-38 against the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, they just had a really good game overall. All around, the team was really good. The Ravens did good as well, but they just could not beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone saw the Dolphins coming back. Tua Tagovailoa looked like an MVP out there as he threw for 470 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Him and Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle were able to make some big plays. And, I mean, Lamar looked good as well, 320 yards and 3 touchdowns, but a monster, monumental carnage comeback for the Dolphins.
All right, the next game was the Bucs versus Saints, and the Bucs won 20-10. Tom Brady, he did okay. He only had 190 yards with 1 touchdown, but that was what they needed to come out on top against the Saints. Yeah, I mean, overall it was a pretty balanced game, but the Bucs came back in the fourth quarter with 17, and that's just what put them on top in the end there.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady, we have to give him a shout-out because he still did good, even though he didn't have Chris Godwin or Julio Jones for the entire game. And then he lost Mike Evans in the second half because he got an ejection. So Tom Brady still managed to pull out the dub without his probably 3 top men.
Yeah, I think the big story of this game was the Mike Evans fight and, Tom Brady finally beating the Saints on the Bucs. And then the next game we had were the Commanders and the Lions. The Lions looked incredible out there, but so did Carson Wentz. He had 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. But Jared Goff, 250 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Monroe St. Brown looked really good. And Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks. And, he's looking like he could be a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate.
Yeah, the Detroit Lions, they were really good all 4 quarters of this game, 12 in the first, 10 in the second, and then 7 in the third and fourth. They were really well-rounded this game, and I definitely think they'll be a very good team this season.
Yeah, it's for sure to say Monroe St. Brown will have a really good season. Just by these couple of weeks, he's been doing really good, and, yeah, I'm proud of the Lions this game.
Then we had the Seahawks taking on the Niners, in which the Seahawks only could put up 7 on the board. The Niners scored 27 as Trey Lance got taken out of the game, and Jimmy G came back, threw for 150 passing yards and a touchdown. Helped kind of lead the Niners to the win. They actually ran the ball a lot this game, and they still came out on top, scoring 14 in the second quarter. That was the big quarter for them.
Yeah, with Trey Lance, as he suffered the season-ending ankle injury in the first quarter, Jimmy Garoppolo's return to QB1, I feel like they still managed to pull out the dub. I feel like it's going to be a good year for the Niners, even without Trey Lance. They just continue to prove themselves.
Yeah, for sure. The next game we had, which was the Rams versus Falcons, with the Rams winning 31-27. The Rams were pretty good all 4 quarters. The Atlanta Falcons almost had a comeback in the fourth quarter, but unfortunately they couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, I think it was great to see Marcus Mariota come back. He had a pretty solid game, and they almost got the win. Stafford, he looked better, but he's got to be more careful with the ball as he's turned the ball over quite a lot. Cooper Kupp back to his great numbers, and, the Rams, they're definitely trying to build off of that loss that they have, but look forward to them being another Super Bowl contender this year.
Cooper Kupp, he's just picking up right where he left off last season. Last week against the Bills, he recorded 13 catches and 128 yards and a touchdown. Versus the Falcons, he caught 11 of his 14 targets for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Although he lost a fumble, I think it's safe to say that Cooper Kupp is going to have a really good season.
All right. The next game was the Cardinals versus the Raiders, and the Cardinals won 29-23. The Cardinals had 16 in the fourth quarter, tying it up, leading them into overtime, and they scored a touchdown in overtime, and that's what really got them the win, 29-23. The game was pretty well-rounded. Kyler Murray did very good this game, 277 yards, but yeah.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had a clutch 2-point conversion at the end of the game. They really just were able to make that comeback, and in overtime, we all saw it happen. The scoop and score touchdown for the win. At first, it looked like he got the ball out too early before he crossed the end zone line, but in fact, he did cross it. But the Cardinals are coming back, and I don't think anyone expected this from the Raiders after they picked up Devontae Adams. He did not look very good this game, but they got to come back stronger.
Yeah, that 2-point conversion, man. That was insane. That was an insane clutch by Kyler Murray. Even Derek Carr did really good too on the Raiders. He finished with a 74, 75 adjusted completion rate. I mean, he had no really big-time throws, but he and Kyler Murray both had really good games.
Yeah, then we saw the Broncos playing the Texans, and low-scoring game. Broncos-Texans. I think it's clear Russell Wilson, he's getting a little bit more used to this Broncos offense. Javonte Williams, him and Melvin Gordon combined for about 120 rushing yards. They look pretty good on the ground. And Russell Wilson had a pick and a touchdown. So I think he's kind of easing into this Broncos offense, and the Texans still without a win.
Yeah, it's not looking very good for the Texans. They had a tie in week 1, and this week they lost. It's not looking very good for them this season. They haven't done very well either game. Davis Mills only had 177 yards, and yeah.
Next, we had the Bengals playing against the Cowboys. Who they? More like who they, because the Bengals just are a shell of their former selves. They were a Super Bowl team last year, and now they're 0-2. I mean, fun fact, every AFC North team lost, but the Bengals, you have no excuse. You lost to Cooper Rush, which is just downright embarrassing. Ezekiel Elliott didn't look that good, but Joe Burrow, you got to pick it up, dude. You're not. Joe Mixon was pretty bad this game. He had 20 carries and only 57 yards. And, Jamar Chase didn't look that special. The Bengals are just not good.
Yeah, coming into the season, I was really looking forward to hopefully the Bengals having a good season. But, even with their picks, they're not doing very well so far. So, hopefully they can pick it back up at some point. The Cowboys with an unexpected win. Last week we didn't really think of too much from them, but they got the win this week.
Being a Cincinnatian myself, I don't know what is going on with the Bengals. They just need to pick it up. I thought with their new O-line they were going to have a better season. Starting off 0-2, it really just sucks, let's be honest. They lost to the Cowboys. Yeah, it was weird. Nobody knew what was going on in Dallas. Come on, Cincinnati. Yeah, it must be the practices. Nobody knows what is going on down in Cincinnati.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, the next game was the Packers versus the Bears. The Packers won 27-10. It was a pretty interesting game, but the Packers came out on top. Aaron Rodgers did okay, but there's nothing really too special about that game. It was, yeah.
I think it's just the reoccurring nightmare for the Bears. Aaron Rodgers just slaps the teeth out of their mouth every year. He did it again. The Bears are it seems like they can't compete with the big teams in the NFC North, and that might be their problem. If you can't get divisional wins, you can't make the playoffs, and that's just as simple as that.
Yeah, running back Aaron Jones, he's so good. He just ripped through the Bears' defense, 132 yards and a touchdown, 15 carries plus 3 catches on 3 targets for 38 yards with another touchdown. This guy, man. Bears suck.
All right, the next game was the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. The Buffalo Bills absolutely destroyed the Titans, 41-7. They were good. They had the Bills had 24 in the third quarter, and it really just seems like the Titans are going to have to step it up this year. They're not doing very well, and they just got absolutely destroyed. On the other hand, it's looking pretty good for the Bills. 2-0, winning against the Rams week 1. It's looking pretty good for them this year.
To just put it plain and simple, there was absolute carnage down in Buffalo. They didn't stand a chance. It was like the Hulk versus a baby. They just got destroyed. They just got slaughtered. It wasn't even a contest. You could have put a Pee-wee football team out there. They probably would have done better. Derrick Henry is a joke. He's washed. If he's on your fantasy team, you better trade him because he had worse stats than Hassan Haskins, the rookie from Michigan. Now, if you ask me, Derrick Henry is washed, and that was just carnage.
Yeah.
The Bills' offense. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs showed all evening as the duo, dominated as they overmatched the Titans defense. I mean, Josh Allen.
All right, the last game was the Eagles versus the Vikings. Now, personally, I wasn't too happy with this outcome of this game. The Eagles won 24-7. I was really hoping the Vikings could pull it out here. I'm really rooting for the Vikings this season. I mean, I just want to see something kind of unexpected. But, I mean, Eagles won this game. There's nothing you can really say about it.
And Vikings, I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you can't get 100-plus receiving yards from Justin Jefferson, you're probably not going to win the game. That might be the story for the rest of the year for the Vikings. Is Justin Jefferson going to do good or not, and can Kirk Cousins really lead a team to the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, last week we were talking about how Justin Jefferson is back. We were talking about how Justin Jefferson is just going to dominate this season. He didn't really show much.
All right, now on to our Week 3 predictions. So the first game at 8:15 on Thursday is the Steelers versus the Browns. Personally, I'm going to take the Browns on this one. I mean, the Steelers kind of were having something there, I guess, but, I mean, not really. I think the Browns are going to win this game pretty easily. I don't see there being too much competition.
I actually have the Steelers winning this one. I think expect a big day from Najee Harris. He's kind of been ready to pop off, but I think he's going to boom that game. It's a Thursday night game, so get ready for Najee Harris to put on a show under the lights.
I'm going to agree with the Steelers on that one. I mean, Browns suck.
I'm going to disagree with that one. All right. But the next game is the Bills versus the Dolphins. Now, on this one, I'm not very sure because the Bills have been doing very good this season, but surprisingly so have the Dolphins. So, I'm going to root for the Dolphins on this one. I know that it might not be what happens, but I'm rooting for the Dolphins on this one.
I think I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. The Dolphins are not the best team in the league. The Bills are the best team in the league. They're going to win. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but the Bills are going to come out on top with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm going to go with the Bills, too. I mean, when we watch Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on Sunday, I mean, it was just a show. It was so fun to watch. Even though the Dolphins did pretty good on all, I mean, they're already 2-0. I feel like the Dolphins are going to have a good season, but they're not going to have a good enough season to beat the Buffalo Bills.
All right. The next game is the Bengals versus the Jets. Now, for this one, being from Cincinnati, I really want to take the Bengals, but I really think I'm going to have to choose the Jets here. The Bengals have not been having a good season so far, and, I mean, honestly, I think that Aaron Rodgers is really just going to overpower Joe Burrow in this one. I don't think the Bengals will be able to hold up against them with their record and how they've been doing this season. Hopefully they'll come out, but I think the Jets will ultimately take this one.
I believe that the Bengals are going to get this win because there's nothing more dangerous than someone with nothing to lose. And at this situation, it's the Bengals. Low expectations as of right now, 0-2, and they're up against the ropes. I think they're going to come back and they're going to win. Don't forget Joe Flacco. He's going to have a solid game, but the Bengals are going to win.
Yeah, I mean, even though the Bengals are already 0-2 starting off the season, I honestly would go to say Jets are the worst team in the league. I mean, nobody's going to know what's going to go on in Cincinnati, but I feel like the Bengals are going to win.
I don't know about that one, Owen. But the next game will be the Raiders versus the Titans. Now, for this one, both of these teams have not been doing too hot this year so far. But I'm going to have to take the Raiders on this one, having a little bit better of a record and a little bit better players. I think the Raiders are going to take the
looking into this game, we're just going to see a big day from Derrick Henry. Just kidding. He sucks. The Raiders are going to get their first win of the season. Devontae Adams putting up MVP numbers, and they're going to take the win in Tennessee, baby.
Yeah, I mean, like Ryan said, I don't think the Titans can pull it off against the Raiders. I think Derek Carr is going to just go off. And, yeah, the Raiders are just going to win, plain and simple.
All right, the next game is the Saints versus the Panthers. Now, for this game, you really got to think about it. But I'm going to take the Saints on this one. I really just don't think the Panthers will win. I mean, that's really all to it.
I actually have the Panthers winning this one. I think the Panthers, Baker Mayfield and Robbie Anderson are gonna have a big day. We're gonna see some big numbers from them. I think it's gonna be close, but I think the Panthers are gonna come out on top.
I hate to just copy you on every single game, Ryan, but yeah, Panthers are going to take the dub. Let's be honest. Ever since the Saints lost Drew Brees to retirement, they suck. Let's just be honest.
Are you done? All right. The next game is the Ravens versus Patriots, and I'm going to give this one over to Ryan to explain.
Ravens Patriots AFC matchup. They've had a little bit of history. But in this game, Mac Jones, he's not going to do well. The Ravens are going to get back on track, getting to win this game. Expect big numbers from Lamar. They're going to win.
I'll agree with that. I think the Ravens will definitely come out on top here. It might be a little bit of a closer game than you might expect, but I think the Ravens will come out on top.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both you guys. The Ravens are going to win this game. I mean, I don't like to be a big old copycat, but yeah, expect big numbers from Lamar. He's popping off.
All right, and the next game is the Lions versus the Vikings. Now, I mean, how can you not take the Lions on this one? The Lions, I think, are going to have a great season this year, and the Vikings, it's not looking too good for them, and so I definitely think the Lions will come out on top this season.
You said, how could I not take the Lions?
Yeah, how could you not take the Lions?
I'm taking the Vikings, baby. J. Jeff on top. Woo!
I mean, we see Darius Slay locking up Justin Jefferson, but the difference is I don't think the Lions have a proved all-star cornerback this year, and Justin Jefferson is going to have a monster day against my Detroit Lions. They're going to get the dub, a divisional matchup. We saw what happened against the Packers. They're going to do it again. I think the Lions have a better shot if it's a home game, but at Minnesota, I just don't see it happening.
All right, the next game is the Eagles versus the Commanders. I'm going to take the Eagles on this one. Honestly, yeah. I mean, there's not much to say about that. That's just what I'm going to say. I mean, it could be it's a toss-up either way. I'm going to say Eagles, though.
I think Jalen Hurts so far and the Eagles have proven themselves to be top-tier teams in the NFC. I think they're going to do it again. Commanders have a pretty good defense, but I'm going to take the Eagles here. Jalen Hurts is going to have a monster day, so just expect that.
You stole my idea, man. I mean, yeah, Eagles already going 2-0. I feel like they're going to make this 3-0. Jalen Hurts is going to expect. I mean, you know what I mean. Jalen, yeah, big numbers, yeah.
All right. Okay, so the next game is the Chiefs versus the Colts. Now, I mean, if you take the Colts on this one, I just don't know what to tell you. The Chiefs are going to come out on top. Patrick Mahomes is going to put up some big numbers. The Colts are looking in a bad place this game. I mean, yeah, that's really all there is to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Indianapolis Colts are not good. Chiefs on top.
You know, this is two big teams playing each other on paper, but in reality, the Colts, they're fake. They're not a big team. A big team like the Colts would be able to beat the Texans. How can you not beat the Texans when you have arguably the best running back in the NFL? I don't know if that's true anymore because Jonathan Taylor isn't looking like the best running back in the NFL. I'm taking the Chiefs. And Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they're going to just put on a show.
All right, and the next game, speaking of the Texans, is the Texans versus the Bears. Now, for this game, I'm going to take the Texans. It's not been looking good for the Bears this season, and I think it's just going to be the same story over again of them not being able to compete with very many teams at all. I think the Texans are going to put up some big numbers, and yeah.
We've been dragging this on. Bears on top.
Well, it looks like a cakewalk for the Bears, but I think the Texans are actually going to get the dub here. Upset the Bears. The Bears' offense hasn't looked amazing, and it's going to come back to bite them. The next game is the Jaguars and the Chargers. I'm just going to keep it simple. Jaguars not competing with Justin Herbert. Chargers getting the win.
Yeah, for sure. The Chargers are going to come on top. The Chargers are going to have a really good season this year, and the Jaguars just won't be able to compete with them this year.
I'm actually taking the Jaguars this game because, I don't know, I feel like energy is going to be low in LA down at SoFi. And, yeah. The next game that we have is the Rams versus Cardinals. Yeah, I mean, Cardinals, I feel like they're going to take the dub here. Kyler Murray is just going to put up some really big numbers, yeah.
I'm going to have to completely disagree with you on this one. I do not think the Cardinals will be winning against the Rams. The Rams overall have a really good team, and I think that it'll be a closer game, but I think the Rams will come out on top.
This game I think I have the Rams losing because Kyler Murray, he's gonna have a big day. In my opinion, he's gonna have a big day. High scoring game. Stafford turning the ball over is gonna kill them in the end.
All right, the next game is the Packers versus Buccaneers. I'm gonna take the Packers on this one overall. That's just my pick.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I'm taking the Packers. I mean, last year maybe I would have taken the Bucs on this game. Tom Brady's probably 1 year too old to be playing football.
Well, over and over again we've doubted, but in the end he's always came back.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
As you heard right there from my buddy, he's the GOAT, the MVP. He's going to do it again, take out Aaron Rodgers. 2 veteran quarterbacks, but Brady is the better one.
There is no way what you just said is right. I mean, I mean, Tom Brady's getting older now, and I mean so far this year he's not been putting up the big numbers. So I'm gonna be going with the Packers. I mean, yeah, he just hasn't been putting up the same numbers he has been in previous seasons. So I think that Aaron Rodgers will come out on top this season.
The next game we have is the Falcons versus the Seahawks. I mean, yeah, Falcons.
I'm gonna have to agree with Owen on that one. I'm gonna say Falcons. I mean, there's not much to it. This might be a toss-up game either way, but I'm gonna say Falcons.
Well, I'm actually going to take the Seahawks. Expect a lot of screenplays to DK Metcalf from Geno Smith, and I think they're going to get the win with that.
All right, and the next game is the 49ers versus the Broncos. Obviously, I'm going to take the 49ers here. I mean, there's not really much to it. I just don't think the Broncos will be able to compete with the 49ers, and I just really don't think that they have the players or the facility to, like, be able to compete with them.
You're wrong.
Thanks for your input, Owen.
Well, I think it's going to come down to if the Niners are healthy. And by that, I mean if George Kittle's playing, the Niners will win this game. If he's not, it's going to be closer. But both ways, I think the Niners are going to win. I think Nick Bosa is going to get a lot of pressure in this game. He's going to have a couple sacks, and they're going to pick up the dub in this game.
All right, and the final game of Week 3 will be the Cowboys versus the Giants. Here, I'm going to take the Giants, honestly. They have the better record, and, I mean, I just don't think the Cowboys will be able to compete anymore, honestly.
Yeah, no Dak Prescott is scary for the Cowboys, but the thing is they beat the Bengals. And if they can beat the Bengals, actually, you know what? Giants are probably better than the Bengals, so I think the Giants are going to win.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go Cowboys. You know, even though the Giants are 2-0, they're like the odd one out of the 2-0 squad. I mean, the Dolphins, Eagles, Bills, Bucks, the Chiefs even. Giants suck. I mean, they're just like the odd one out. I mean, like, they're that fat guy in the corner, you know. And it's just like, yeah, if the Cowboys can beat the Bengals, the Cowboys can beat anyone in the league.
Absolutely not.
The Giants are like Kobe from Dude Perfect, except they're going to get the upset win.
All right, and that concludes the second episode of Inside the Huddle. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
I'm Owen Hurley.
I'm Evan Love.
And I'm Ryan Wilson, your favorite podcast smarty from Cincinnati, Ohio, and this was Inside the Huddle.